Basketball is now considered an upper middle class sport. And did you know between 2010 and 2020, African American NBA players were paid a total of $24 billion? That's right, $24 billion with a B. All that and more on the No Backboard Basketball Show.
That we get back to talking about this community, because I think that's one way, and that I think that's, if I'm not mistaken, it may be the tagline you use there, if change the game, change the community.
I'm the game changer, the mover, the shaker. With every basket, I'm a community maker. I'm the game changer, the mover, the shaker. With every basket, I'm a community maker.
Great question. So the No Backboard Basketball League, the vision of it is a new recreational basketball platform to provide opportunities for Black and brown individuals to actually own wealth creating assets in the sports space. Welcome to the No Backboard Basketball Show. I am your host, Mark T. Armstrong, the inventor of Basketball to Remix, the modern interpretation of the original game, and the founder of the No Backboard Basketball League. I am your most important voice in American basketball today. The No Backboard Basketball League, we're building a community to create a new basketball experience. You can tap in at nobackboard.com. Again, that's nobackboard.com. Join our community. We have some exciting things that are coming. And also, want to get my insight into my why for the No Backboard Basketball League? Pick up my book on Amazon, No Backboard Basketball, Remixing Basketball as a Catalyst for Change. I think you'll enjoy that, and will support my effort to lead a community in building a new basketball experience here in the United States. Today we have two topics. Has basketball become a middle-class sport or an upper middle-class sport? And why we want to put gyms in the hood. Part of our mission with the No Backboard Basketball League is to establish a network of no backboard basketball training gyms, and with at least 50% of these gyms in communities now considered disadvantaged communities. And we're going to get into that. So, our first topic of the day. Has basketball become a middle-class sport? Well, it seems that the NBA product definitely has been under attack for the past decades. Recently, I saw a social media influencer complain or just have some criticism on the TNT team. I love the TNT team. Charles, Chuck and Charles are the same person. Shaq, Kenny, and he's slipping my mind right now, but the bow tie guy, gentleman with a great heart. That the fact that they've been complaining about the game for a decade or so doesn't help the narrative, and kind of encourages people, particularly people of those generations, to adapt this narrative that the game of basketball is not as good as it used to be. But, there's complaints from players being too soft, to the rules becoming too relaxed, to this season where I've spoken about already, are they shooting too many threes? So last week I came across a couple of clips on Instagram. One clip I came across was the coach from UCLA after a game, and he was just very candid. He says he was expressing his frustration, the challenges he has coaching these kids. He has more energy than these kids have. He just outright just called them in general soft. The second clip I saw, which really caught my attention, was on Instagram from the Millionaire Mindset Pod. So I want to give them a shout out, the Millionaire Mindset Pod, claiming that basketball is now a middle-class sport and it has been for some time. And I did a quick post when I heard this, and I vibe with that. I do. And it aligns with my complaints and concerns I've been expressing about basketball in the United States for the past decade. but it's really driving home why we are seeing this big gap between the haves and have-nots and access to the game of basketball. Right, so what I want to do is I really want to share portions of this clip from the Millionaire Mindset Pod so you can hear what I heard, and then I'll give you my comments after that. Let's go.
So there's many reasons why the NBA is losing interest, but the number one reason, in my opinion, is because basketball has unofficially become a upper middle class or rich person sport. Let me break it down. So it costs anywhere between $30 to $100 per hour to get a kid training for basketball. And to play on the AAU team, it costs anywhere from $300 to $1,000 to be on the team, and that's without travel, gas, food, hotels, new shoes, all of that stuff. And today, if a kid isn't getting trained around the clock all year with basketball, they practically have no chance of making the NBA, even if they're really good and got the height and all that. And the average American parent doesn't have the funds or the time available to invest into developing their kid. And this is a huge issue because historically, the NBA was made from players that come from low-income backgrounds. The LeBrons, the Iversons, the Wilt Chamberlains, Isaiah Thomas, KD, D-Wade, D-Rose, KG, Harden, Kareem, even the ones that came from two-parent households, like Magic Johnson, who talks about how he grew up poor. Michael Jordan's father was a textile mill worker in the 70s and 80s, which they didn't make a lot of money at all. The Shaqs, Westbrook, Jimmy Butler, I could go on and on and on. And the reason for this is because typically when people come from low-income backgrounds, when it comes to sports, they play with a hunger, a drive, a passion and flair that usually comes from not having much. And with the game being so expensive to play now, today's NBA is mostly filled with players that came from upper middle class or well-to-do families. And that's why it comes across as so uncompetitive or passionless, I should say, is because these players they don't play with that same fire that people play from when they come from nothing. And the proof is in the pudding. There was a recent study done about players in the NBA, and what they discovered was almost 50% of today's NBA players are related to former professional athletes or Division I athletes. And the problem is that there is so much money in youth basketball now that the system is not ever going to change. So it's going to remain this way.
Tired of the three-point obsession, the commercialization of youth basketball, and a game where skill development takes a backseat? Introducing No Backboard Basketball, remixing basketball as a catalyst for change. This isn't just a book, it's a movement. Rediscover basketball's roots, where the focus is on community, creativity, and real opportunities for Black and brown youth. No more barriers for families without deep pockets. Get your copy on Amazon now and join the revolution that's changing the game and changing lives.
So I had a conversation with my mom about this, who's pushing 80. I remember it was about a year ago, and my mom reminds me she grew up in a basketball community because she grew up in Brooklyn, New York. She grew up down the street from Connie Hawkins, if you're familiar with the name, was a neighbor of my mom. And I chuckle because I remember a comment you made about a year ago. I think we was watching some college basketball, and she made a comment on how light all the players were. Now you got to remember, my mom probably hasn't watched any college basketball in 5 to 7 years since my aunt passed. My aunt passed, watched a lot of college basketball. She's a basketball fan. So I found that comment that tickled me when my mom made that observation. And there's a lot of factors to the lightening of the pool of basketball players. If you are observant, there is a lightening of the complexion holistically of basketball players, but that's a different conversation. The thing I pointed out was when I was growing up, it's safe to say that 80% of my basketball foundation was established for free, right? Simply by going to the parks and the driveways in my neighborhood and playing with older kids and adults. Probably 15% of my foundation in basketball came from coaching. I was blessed to have good coaches in my life, young. And maybe 5% came from actual financial investments into my basketball career. There was a period of time from sixth grade. My mom sent me sixth grade, seventh grade. My mom sent me to, sixth grade, my mom sent me to local junior college camps. Then after that, she would save money throughout the year. I went to John Wooden camp. Going into the seventh grade, I went to Jerry West camp. Going into the eighth grade, I did an all-star camp going into the ninth grade, and then my sophomore and junior year, at least my sophomore and junior, I did a superstar camp out at the Santa Barbara campus, right? But my mom would have to save money over several months, if not the entire year, to make sure that the finances was in place to make that one-time that once-a-year investment, if you would, to get professional development, if you would, right? When I grew up, a lot of these services were free, and more importantly, because there are basketball courts all across the country, but ESPN did an article maybe 5 years ago, maybe almost 10 years ago, about the death of outdoor basketball. I don't know if they call it the death of street ball, but at the end of the day, people stopped going to the parks because people stopped feeling safe, right? I was fortunate, not only could I go to a park, our park had a gym, right? So I was fortunate I could go play in a gym for free year round, and there would be adults and other kids there, and those adults would help you with your game. And that was really the foundation of all the characteristics that led to having a Hall of Fame high school career, and still top 10 in many categories at my alma mater where I played basketball at. So this whole thought that now to even compete, right? To even compete requires year-round training and an investment of several $1,000s a year. To me, is an example that basketball in the United States is losing its connection with the very communities that provided the talent that are legends today. And it's concerning, right? Here's an interesting question to put it in perspective. On your basketball Mount Rushmore, do you have any legends on that Mount Rushmore that you know came from a middle-class, non-struggle background? Think about that. So this discussion isn't just about economics. It's also about the soul of the game, right? We're definitely seeing a shift in the basketball culture, and this shift can have a significant impact on the quality of the game and actually where our next superstars are going to be coming from. When you think about a stat I heard, two stats, about 41% of all NBA players are related to an elite athlete, and I think it's maybe the same number, 49% of the current NBA population has relations with someone else who played in the NBA, has a relationship with someone else that played in the NBA. So we're seeing this shift. And it raises a lot of questions about the accessibility, talent development, and the very essence of basketball. Basketball has always been a community sport. Basketball has always been a sport that people could just go out and play at the playground. If the sport is becoming more middle class, how will this affect future stars, future American stars? Because right now, we are definitely a decade into a generation of modern AAU NBA players. I mean, we're definitely in the midst of current NBA stars who have come from the AAU system that the old heads have been complaining about. They are in the league now, and we have it. And there's stars, but I don't think we have a global American superstar. And we definitely currently don't have anyone who's challenging one of the international superstars for dominance in the league. And with the rise of Victor Wembanyama, we may be looking at if the rise of Victor Wembanyama and French basketball, because French basketball is on the rise. With our current culture situation here, we just might be at the beginning of the real end. Something else I predicted about 15 years ago in a video you can find based upon William Roden's book called The $40 Million Slave. So, what do you think? Do you think basketball has become too middle class? And has it been the fact, and as the game becomes soft, because you have a bunch of athletes that historically just haven't had the struggle that the superstars of old went through to achieve what they achieved and the motivations they had to be able to provide a new reality for their families. Be interested in your thoughts. Me, I think it's just an unfolding of something I predicted years ago, which is why we're developing the No Backboard Basketball League and our mission to connect with communities across the country and provide an alternative platform that can establish some of the proven old school principles within a modern environment.
So what was like the most surprising thing about today? Something about yourself or just something about this whole overall experience?
Man, walked in here and instantly, first thing I noticed, no backboard. It was crazy to me. It was, I don't really know how to explain it. It was just weird to see, really weird to see, The balls also looked weird, but I kind of liked it with more groove, so yeah.
That's pretty cool. So like, that seems pretty jarring. What would you tell someone coming into that experience?
Just be prepared, It's gonna be weird, just be prepared for it.
And this seems like this prepared you pretty well. Do you think there's anything from this that you take for your personal journey?
Just the touch, shooting portion of the touch. I mean, I can't really say much because I wasn't really getting much touches out there nor looks. So, the looks I did have, I mean, you had to think about what you did. It was very fast paced, so
That's
you
pretty
just have
crazy.
to always be ready.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's so fast paced. Like, how do you think in that kind of environment? Is it strategy or something about fundamentals?
It's just, it just comes to you. It comes to you with practice. So a lot of practice, and you'll eventually get it. But it's just, you can't really think about that ahead of time. You can't prepare or something.
Yeah. Seems like there's a lot of challenging parts to this. What do you think's the most challenging part?
I'd say the no backboard combined with the smaller rim. I mean, it's all of that. You just have to get everything right in order to make it, and that's the hard part.
What do you think this kind of new format can help players?
I mean, it'll help them with everything. I mean, on a bigger rim, you'll be okay with a little bit of imperfections, but with this, you got to have a lot less imperfections in order to make it. So, yeah.
Dang. Well, it seems like a cool experience. What was the funnest part thing for you?
Funnest part, how quick it was. You make a mistake and then it's just instantly now you're back on defense or you're going to get that rebound. It's instant. And I love that.
There is a lot of things that happen so fast. If you make a mistake, how do you deal with that?
You just think about it later. Not when you're not in game, when game's all over and you're just thinking about it in bed or sitting down or eating. Just think about what you could have done better.
Are you thinking about your plays right now?
Sometimes. Sometimes.
I get that. Well, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
No backboard! Remember that!
No backboard, just sky where we aim. Swish a brick, it's all love for the game.
One of my observations about society today is people are conditioned not to believe what they see, not to trust what they see right in front of them. Okay, so where am I going with that? Between 2010 and 2020, the NBA earned $66.48 billion, right? They have approximately 50% revenue share with the athletes. 73% of the athletes during that period of time with the league, on average, was made up of Black Americans. Okay, so during this 10-year period, on aggregate, 73% of the league was made up of Black American basketball players. They took home approximately $24 billion over that decade. So over the decade from 2010 to 2020, Black American NBA players as an aggregate were paid $24 billion over that decade. Right. So let's break that down. That's approximately every year. That's approximately 328 Black basketball players got paid around $2 billion a year. Black American players got paid about $2 billion a year just for providing basketball entertainment, right? Basketball entertainment. Now, here's where it gets interesting, right? Because I follow this space. Non-basketball entertainment content is growing again, right? So you have brands like Next Chapter. If you haven't heard of these brands, Google them. Next Chapter, love what they're doing. The Brody League, currently the world's largest recreational basketball league, the Creators League. All of these alternative basketball content brands have carved out small niche audiences promoting their unique take on basketball entertainment, and building a community around that. Now remember, keep this in mind, basketball is a $380 billion business based upon the estimates and the research of the No Backboard Basketball League. Now, a significant portion of this money is interwoven into lifestyle entertainment and products. The No Backboard Basketball League believes that our market opportunity is significantly larger than attempting to start a pro league. That's why our vision has never been about starting a pro league. Let's start a pro no backboard basketball league. No, that's not our vision. What our vision is let's build out a new recreational and skills development platform by building out an infrastructure of unique no backboard basketball training gyms and build a community around providing elite basketball training services, NIL services, representation and promotion, and the world's best recreational basketball competitions and entertainment content, right? So our business model is centered around a network of these gyms where we'll serve 5,000 members, which includes 5,000 members across the United States, which also includes about 10,000 NIL athletes, right? So I've done the numbers. When our units in the marketplace, we will be like a NAIA or a Division III, Division II basketball association across the country, able to service thousands of athletes in training, services, competitions, entertainment, and compensation, right? So with this, our aim is to put up to 50% of our facilities in the hood, in communities that basketball has left behind through the process of the commercialization of sports, right? And that's exactly what happened. Once the game started to get commercialized, incentives and guardrails will start to be put in place by the NCAA, AAU, that started to corral the talent up out of the hood into all these different venues where the coaches can come, right? You know, so why do we want to do this? Well, because again, I've watched the NCAA, AAU, NBA, how they have systematically kind of just corralled this talent to be able to control and influence grassroots, AAU, and club basketball. So today we can establish one of our gyms in the hood, right? And this is what's possible today, 2025, when you have blockchain technology, you have your regulation CF, you have the rise of independent media, you have the rise of the influencers, you now have NIL, so teenagers can generate revenue off of their athletic talents, leveraging the name, image, and likeness. When you pull all of these new emerging capabilities together and you blend it in, you can go into the hood, throw up a gym, and then through monetizing the activity in the gym's content, NIL athlete opportunities, merchandise off of branding of that gym, all of that revenue now can go to supplementing the cost for community members who can't afford the membership. Now, here's where it gets beautiful, because you just never give anybody anything free. That is where I think AAU went wrong, and they just gave kids free stuff to come play with them. Therefore, the value and accountability portion expectations were never developed. Right? You can get a free membership, but there will be something you do in exchange for that. That right there will help filter out the wrong kids. Because at the end of the day, we still got to deal with the facts of statistics. And what our objective is to go into the hood and find the diamonds. Right? Go into the hood and find the diamonds. Right? So we can be in the hood, we can serve the hood, we can create economic and educational opportunities for the residents without physically leaving the hood. Because the hood's full of diamonds. And our No Backboard Basketball training gyms can be considered our mining operations. I don't think this strategy could have worked 10 years, 15 years ago. But today, this is a win-win-win strategy. Because at the end of the day, we know we can monetize the activities taking place in that facility in the hood, and through leveraging the monetization of that activity in the hood and putting it back in the hood, now we can start impacting that community, and that not just that franchise can raise up, we literally can have an influence where we can start raising up the community that particular facility's in. So we're just not about playing games. We're building community, we're fostering talent, and we're giving back directly where we think it's needed most. Hey, thank you for making it to the end. I appreciate your support, and remember, we changed the game, so now we can change communities. Be blessed. See you at the top.
That's how I knew. That's how I knew that I was different.
Right. And it's like, you can look a gift horse in the face and not know what you're looking at. And I feel like, I'm looking at the gift horse. I'm just one of the ones that notice what I'm looking at. You know what I mean? It's actually an incredible time. It's like a gold rush. There's never been a time like this in our generation. It's our equivalent of the gold rush when everybody moved to California. This technology has empowered everybody. It's giving people, it's as big as you want to make it. And, it's as far as you want to take it. And we could quote a gang of things going on in the world right now, or just, accept it as being true. But, it's like, man, giants gonna crumble, big companies gonna crumble, new companies gonna pop up out of nowhere. And it's gonna be dramatic right now, and I believe it.
That's how I know. That's how I know. That's how I know. That's how I know. That's how I